Okay, so I want to do a video today, just a quick one going over some promotional strategies that we could use in 2025 now that we have ChatGPT available to us. I think back in the day when I was doing tours, I would probably spend a week or two in advance just looking up the towns that we were going to and trying to. I would oftentimes target other bands in those towns because I would know that those would be the people most likely to show up to a live performance. So a lot of times I would look for bands in that area. I would try to contact the venue owners and see what kind of promotion they're doing. Because honestly, when you're on tour, a lot of that promotional work is going to end up being done by the venue owners, which honestly shouldn't really be. It is I don't know. It is. They do have the responsibility to promote the events that they're holding because obviously they want people to show up so that they could sell drinks, but they don't know who your audience is. So you're going to be the best avenue for making that connection venue, uh, your audience that you think might be out there. So given that we now have ChatGPT available to us, I was going through this. I'm doing this volunteer work for this nonprofit organization that Hindustani music, which isn't necessarily what I play when I go out and perform. But I think it's still relevant in this situation because the premise is the same. We're trying to get the word out there to as many people as possible. You don't necessarily expect them to show up, and this is something that I learned touring was that no one shows up for your first tour. They do show up for your second and third tours, though, because that first tour is when you're kind of getting your name out there. No one's, a couple people might see you, but those couple people, if they have a great time, they're going to go tell their friends about it, and then it's an exciting event the next time that you come through. Um, but either way, you still want to be know, pushing as much promotional material as possible to these places, especially if you're not known there already. Um, so this is pretty much what I would do for every town that I would be, potentially going to. At this point is I'd probably be following this process. I think previously it probably would have taken me a couple weeks, whereas now I think I could probably knock this out weekend, if not a single day. Um, but basically, this all started off where I was asked to design a poster, and I don't know how many of you have worked with Dolly, but Dolly is not trained on tabla drums, so a big struggle in this whole session was just getting a decent poster out of Dolly that wouldn't show awful looking tabla drums. And the way I ended up doing that was just by kind of using approximations and pastels and more like silhouettes of tabla drums, whatever I can to kind of push those into the background or make them not the focal piece. By the way, I'm probably saying tabla wrong. I've been corrected by several people of Indian descent in the past, and I know I say it wrong. I'm working on it. Um, all right, so what I initially did was I started off, I said I need to create a poster for a kid's recital of Hindustani music, tabla drums, in Seattle Tabla Institute. Um, I gave it some basic info. Um, yeah, this was basically the message that I received was just, can anyone make me a poster for this thing? And so I said I'll create it in Dolly, and I was asking for it to create a prompt for me to use Dolly. And the results from that prompt were an absolute train wreck, not usable at all, and not really even something that I could manipulate into something usable. So when I ran into that situation, what I did from that point is I tried to flip what Dolly was looking at and try to focus on the aspect that it's a kids musical event as opposed to a tabla event with kids, because then the focus comes more to like colors and handprints and pastels and things like that, as opposed to trying to accurately generate a drum, which Dolly has not. The models for Dolly clearly have not been trained on those on Indian. So it's a little bit of a struggle, so that's why I ended up making the flip. Um, so, anyways, we have some stuff talking about the layout. I was okay with the layout stuff. That's fine. But we obviously want the event details, short tagline. I'm not. I think I might have included. tagline. I might have ended up in the final draft. I think I actually lost it. Um, yeah, but anyways, so you do want to create a poster for whatever the event is that you're doing. And I feel like most bands are pretty on top of that already. I look at kind of local bands; they all use the impossible to read writing that's usually really scratchy. Um, but it is what it is. But yeah, you should if that's what your audience is into, then absolutely that is what your flyers should look like. I mean, that's I'm obviously not going to use that metal like blood writing for like a children's event. But yeah, if you're playing a dive bar, then that's absolutely appropriate. Yeah, it did suggest that I use Canva, which I have used before. I do like it as a free poster design tool if you're new to making posters. What I would probably suggest doing is either finding a free image out of like Getty Images or just any kind of free artwork, or if you feel comfortable using AI generated images, then try to make something in Dolly. And ideally, you don't want it to obviously be AI. Everyone's really on the lookout for that in this day and age. So the goal is to try to make it not look like AI. So if you feel like you're capable of doing that, then I would definitely suggest using Dolly. I've never worked with Adobe Express or Poster MyWall, but Canva's pretty okay for simple designs. And I could show you what actually maybe I want to bring up the actual poster at this. Yeah, I kind of went over color choices. These are all just kind of aesthetic decisions. The poster I ended up creating, if I could bring that up here. Yeah, and this was with Dolly for the most. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was with Dolly, the background image, and then using Canva, I uh, updated some of the opacity settings and just kind of gave it that sort of. I don't know. I was sort of thinking like, well, we're doing tabla drums. I can't actually get the drums on there. They don't actually look like this. Pretty bad depiction of them because we're missing tuning blocks. One is supposed to be a lot thinner than the other. But it gets the point across, and that was kind of the shift I made when working with Dolly from going from let's try to focus on the drums themselves to let's just focus on the handprints and maybe some silhouettes of children dancing, and maybe we'll include background image drums. And so that's kind of how yeah, and I did take out the tagline at the bottom. But I figured that if I put it in this kind of circle with the dot in it, that kind of resembles a tabla drum, and so that kind of gives the flyer a little bit of personality that I think fits the theme that we're going for. So that's basically the flyer that I came up with out of Dolly. I would think that if you're a touring band, it's probably going to come out a lot different looking than that. Let's see. Okay, and then here's me asking it for the prompt from Dolly. Obviously, that was kind of a train wreck. I mean, if you want to see what that prompt actually generated, um, ugh, yeah, this is what it actually generated. Obviously, for anyone who knows how these drums are played, they are not played with sticks. The sticks do not merge in with your hands. This this image is just ridiculous. Uh, yeah, so that was definitely not a good place to start because if I kept trying to manipulate this, and I mean, I could show you some of the follow up disasters that came out of trying to make this into a usable image, but it turned out that I needed to basically start over from scratch and just kind of focus on kind of the background images and getting those silhouette images. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my strategy for dealing with Dolly posters. Is if you can't get exactly what you want, try starting over and focusing on something else that's kind of a key aspect of what it is that you're trying to promote. Um, yeah, and then we got here. I think we may need to try a different subject for the image since Dolly does not know what a tabla set is or how it is played. There's something else we could depict other than children playing tabla drums, like the palettes and motifs. But the problem is that Dolly does not understand what tabla drums are or how they are played. Can we try something else for the prompt? And yeah, the other issue that you'll run into with this is that anytime you're trying to generate an image of drums, it almost always includes sticks. Apparently, that's something that is linked together in the model. So therefore, it's going to be very I'm going to guess that if I tried to do bongos or congos or something like that, that I would end up kind of at similar results here. Um, let's see. So then we have the second attempt, vibrant watercolor style illustration celebrating the spirit of Indian classical music. Depict cheerful silhouettes of young children in bright Indian attire surrounded by swirling ornate patterns in warm hues of red, orange, and gold. Show subtle hints of small hand drums. Um, Composition should feel festive, energetic, and culturally inspired with decorative Indian motifs in the background, no text or watermarks. This was something that it pointed out that I needed to include with posters because, and I have run into this a lot making Dolly generations, is that oftentimes you'll end up with the text of the prompt visibly appearing in the image itself. You could look at any of my timeline images for any of those songs that I've produced, and you can see a lot of text that came from the prompt in those images. So that's where the no text or watermarks comes from. I've had kind of bad experience using negative statements when working with Dolly. Like the example I say is if I tell Dolly, show me a room with no spiders, it's going to show me a room with lots of spiders because the only context it has for that generation is and spiders. So it's so I'm a little skeptical that no text or watermarks would actually be effective, but it was telling me to add that in there. Maybe that's an update that uh, ChatGPT or OpenAI has been working on. Um, okay, I'm still struggling with this. Let's move past the posters here. I should mention that when I think about who this poster is for, I do understand that the children themselves are not paying for the tabla lesson, or they're probably not the ones who are going to be reading this. So this is actually for the parents of the children. Um, so just I hope that some of them might hang on to the flyer somehow or keep it in an archive somewhere, and then maybe in 20 years, like, oh, remember when that thing when I was a kid? That was so cool. That would make me feel really good to know that someone actually did that. But yeah, the goal at the end of the day is that we want to make this for the parents, the actual customer going to be purchasing stuff, not who the customer is purchasing it for, if that makes sense. Okay, so staying abstract using warm festive colors. We're still on our poster here. Okay, so now we get down to where I'm actually creating the promotional posts and reaching out to different venues for promotion. So we say I'm managing the LinkedIn and Facebook accounts for Seattle Tablet Institute as well as the personal Facebook of the owner. Can you help me create a social media post schedule for the kids' tabla recital? And this is another thing that I did not do back in the day when I was doing create promotional schedules. That's something that you should really start off with probably before you even make the actual announcements. Would be to create a schedule for releasing those announcements. You don't just want to post something once and forget about it, but you also don't want to overwhelm audiences, your your customers basically with inundating them with post after post about the same event. Usually, if they've seen it once or twice, then they probably know I want to go to or something I don't want to go to. You don't want to. I mean, that's the downfall of MySpace was basically bands and cam girls like covering your feed with just advertisements, and it made it an unusable platform. And then Facebook stepped in and kind of had some tighter regulation that. But yeah, you don't want to be contributing to the noise. You want your post to stand out from the noise and hopefully not be so annoying that people start muting you permanently. Um, so I developed the schedule. We have something I did send out my first. It is Monday, February 10th today. I did create my events and send those out. I will follow up on Thursday with probably a few more targeted messages that just say our young performers are hard at work preparing for a night of magic and music. I really liked the idea in here of recording, yeah, right there. Consider including a short video clip or animated graphic. I think this is a great idea. In my perfect situation, I would have just a 10-second clip of Ravi, the instructor, saying, "Can't wait to see you all out tonight here on, at this, in 3 days rather, at this tabla thing," and then he could just knock out some really cool tabla piece, really good at it. Um, that I think that would be a really cool clip to be upload, would just him saying, "Hey, can't wait to see you out there." Um, yeah, and then maybe we could do like another last minute video on like the morning of. But basically, this lays out a pretty good calendar for me that I don't think it will be too overwhelming. We're not posting more than every 3-4 days, it looks like, so that should be enough to stick in people's feed. I know that Facebook sometimes has a delay in when things show up in a feed, of time to compensate for that. Um, and then, of course, yeah, send out a thank you follow up recap. I feel like I'm bad at that, and that's one of those things I should be better at, is just making sure to send out that recap. Because not only is that good just to thank your fans, but you're also, that's one more round of advertisement right there to say, oh, this was the thing that you meant. People had a great time, and then that way, the next time your band comes out to tour in that area, then people are going to be a little bit more motivated, hopefully, out and see you. So yeah, that's definitely something that you should include after every event, is a big thank you to the audience for showing up and supporting you. Um, yeah, but not only that, but that puts the word out that the next time you come through, people had a good time. It's worth their while to attend your event, I think is the goal here. Um, okay, visual consistency. We're back to the poster. Engagement, scheduling tools. All right. And so now we're kind of getting into where I actually started sending out press kits, which I remember from running a record label, it was such a pain to get bands to put together a press kit. Um, it was at the point where I was kind of like, do you want me to write this for you? I'm going to be making stuff up about all of you. I mean, I'm probably going to make up stuff that will hopefully be attention grabbing, but I don't know how on it's feel a little shady doing it, but it would be way better if you could write your own press release and say what your band is about. Um, but yeah, now we have ChatGPT, thank God. So even if you're not the best writer, you could hopefully feed some basic information about yourself into ChatGPT, come up with some kind of bio that you could put on all of your social media accounts and website and all of that. And ideally, you could then reference that block of text later on, as I'm about to do, for creating your press release. That'll make it really easy to just say, here's my bio, create me a press kit or media kit that I could send out. So, what did I say? I said that I've never looked into contacting local media outlets, but Seattle Tabla Institute, nonprofit 501. So maybe it'd be worth it to investigate contacting some arts and culture outlets or writers in the Seattle area. What do you think about this idea? And this writers part, I think, would be interesting to for maybe something later this year, like get in contact with a few writers and say, hey, here's this gentleman, Robbie, who runs the Seattle Tabla Institute. It's a nonprofit. He's been working at it for years. Maybe the next time you need to fill some space in your magazine, article about him and talk about his contribution to the Seattle area. There are probably some writers out there who would be okay to sit down with him for an hour and type up an interview and then maybe use that later on. I think that's not a bad idea to do. I just don't think it's really necessary right now when we're trying to put together a kids recital in about 2. That's probably not a realistic goal right there, but that's definitely something I would want to follow up on later. Um, Okay, so now we're contacting local media outlets, especially those that focus on arts, culture, and community events. Could be a creative strategy for awareness and engagement for the recital. Here are some good reasons and consider. I'm not going to read all of this, but increased visibility, community connection, credibility, and trust, additional engagement. This is actually what I'm secretly going for on this. I don't actually anticipate I mean, I feel like the people that are going to go to this event are going to go to this event. I doubt anyone's going to hear. oh, there's a kids recital, I should go to that. So what we're really doing here is we're trying to build brand recognition, name recognition for Seattle Tablet Institute. um, Potentially get the word out to additional donors or anyone who might be interested in helping out with our cause. Um, that's really what this is about, more so than trying to increase turnout to a kids recital. Um, but again, I think that all of these same tactics could be employed if you're a touring band as well. So, and I would think that you would want to get your band's name out even to people who aren't necessarily going to see you. Like I can't think of how many times I've seen the name of a band back in like Tucson Weekly or something like that. That by the third time I see it, I'm like, I should probably go see that band. It seems like they're doing a lot. I keep seeing that name everywhere. That was another reason I would flyer a lot when I lived in the East Bay. Was just not really to get people to go to my shows, but to uh, have my band's name up, oftentimes out front of bars that I wanted to play at. But just have my band's name up all over town. Same reason I love stickers too, is because those are just free advertisement. I mean, it's advertisement you can sell. Stickers are fantastic, but any of these things that you could do that just gets your name out there, gets it so that someone, when they see your name, they say, "Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that band." That's really what you want right there. That's how you get that's how you get that initial customer engagement, by that, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that band before. Aren't they something something?" So yeah, that's basically what I'm going through with Seattle Tablet Institute. Is I want someone to say, "Oh yeah, Seattle Tablet Institute. Aren't they that nonprofit that does cool work bridging cultural communities?" Um, that's what I'm going for here. So, crafting a press release or media kit, compelling headline, essential date, detailed time, background, Seattle Tablet Institute, quotes from organizers, identify relevant outlets. And yeah, I kind of walked through all of these in following steps. Um, so my next prompt is, I'm interested in contacting community radio and whatever the weekly newspaper is that lists concerts in Oakland, Bay Express. I believe that in Seattle, it's the Seattle Weekly. I actually don't think it's that. I think Seattle's version of that. I don't go into town enough though, so I don't ever walk around and see these things. Um, let's see. I think it may be relatively easy to have an event listed in Seattle Weekly, and I think if there's a publicly funded radio station, they would be willing to announce the event. If I were a touring band, I would probably be looking less for a publicly funded radio station, but I would absolutely looking for a college radio station. I would want to make sure that my event is emailed to every single college radio station in that area, because that's going to be, again, the crowd that you want out. Those are going to be people who are very interested in music. Uh, when I think about who listens to college radio, it's exactly the people who are going to show up to all events that that you're likely putting on. So, absolutely leverage college radio. In this case, we're doing kind of a cultural community event, so publicly funded radio seems to make the most sense. I think trying to arrange for actual press coverage, like articles and interviews, may be too much pressure to put on the instructor and the students. It might make sense to share a short paragraph about Seattle Tablet Institute along with the flyer. What are your thoughts on this? And then it kind of, I mean, I already knew what the thoughts on it. We're going to go ahead and make that. So, but I oftentimes do this when I'm doing my prompt engineering, because I don't want it to necessarily just jump into the task that I want it to do. I want it to kind of accomplish that task slowly, so that I can maybe catch anything that it might be about to do wrong, or maybe I could correct it. And also I find that the results I get are a little bit better when I could have kind of this conversational flow with ChatGPT, not just saying, "Do this for me," or "What's this," but like, I have this kind of elaborate idea. What are your thoughts on it? Then from here, I could kind of break it into, individual action items. Speak. Um, so we have, keep the message simple and focused. I'll let ChatGPT handle that part. Tailor the message for each outlet. And reading back on this, I did not do this. I probably should have. I would think that if I was on tour, then I probably would pay a little bit more attention to tailoring the message to outlet. Um, we're keeping it simple though. I feel like everyone right now is on the edge, expecting everything that they're reading to have been written by AI, which is a fairly reasonable assumption to have. Um, so I kind of feel like brevity is the key to victory in a lot of these cases now because no one wants to read a whole AI thing about whatever it is I'm doing. I think they'd much rather get the point. So the message I sent out was fairly brief. It was actually, I think we'll probably show it down below. Minimize pressure on instructors and students. Yeah, I don't want to have news out there. That's not the goal here. Include contact information. Always a good idea. Link to online resources. I wish I'd created the events before I'd sent out the press releases because then I could have linked to the Facebook events. I'll check my email and see if any of them responded to me, but if so, I'll probably respond with actual event link. Timing. Yeah, you want to send these out if it's like a old legacy media kind of stuff. Then you probably want to send that out a month in advance, ideally 2 months. I only had about 3 weeks to do this, so we'll see if it actually makes it into print or on the air. Some of them said it might take 2 weeks just to process the request, so that's why you need to send these things out a little bit early. Um, okay, so here I just attach the about information for Seattle Tabla, and what else did I include? Yeah, I just included the event details in here. So based on that, I was able to come up with a pretty yeah, I think this does the job that it needs without overwhelming the reader. Very simple community event announcement, Seattle Tabla Institute Kids Recital 2025. I hope you're well. My name is Rob Rich. I manage communications for Seattle Tabla, nonprofit organization. I mean, it's probably good to have that right at the top there. Dealing with Hindustani music in Washington are all very important points to make. This part is probably I feel like this is more likely to get skipped in the reading because it's just kind of background information. But here's the important part is that I'm sending them the event details so that they can include it in their concert calendars or whatever on-air announcements they have. Followed by, yeah, I attached the flyer, the image flyer, yeah, provided my contact information. Yeah, so I sent this out to so the next thing I did was I needed some place to send it to, and I think this is a really great advancement promotion uh, promotion in general because now we could use ChatGPT to just kind of quickly look over what are some things in the area that are relevant to what I'm trying to do, as opposed to going to Google and just kind of scanning, if I were playing a show in like Chico, California or something, Chico, California music, and then trying to figure out what to do from there, maybe looking up individual radio stations. Now we have ChatGPT, so we could kind of streamline this a bit. So it gave me KUOW 94.9, KEXP 90.3. The websites were correct. However, I had to go look up the email addresses. Those were not accurate anymore, so I had to go find those. But still, that's a lot faster than having to go look up radio stations, try to figure out which ones are classic rock station that I don't want to be contacting, KEXP or supported radio station of Seattle. So yeah, I think this is a huge game changer right here, just being able to pull all of this information very quickly. Okay, so yeah, I emailed the two radio stations I found, and then from that point, I was kind of struggling with the name of the newspaper that comes out weekly in Seattle and uh, lists concerts. Apparently, it's The Stranger. I always thought The Stranger was a much bigger newspaper than that. I thought it maybe had national syndication or circulation. Um, but yeah, I think maybe I just need to go into Seattle more and walk around their streets and figure out what that newspaper is called. Apparently, it is The Stranger. Um, yeah, I just remember back in the day listening to Savage Love, and that was like yeah, nationally distributed podcast, so that made sense. I don't know, it didn't make sense that The Stranger was the small newspaper. Anyways, um, write a short description of the event for the event submission form for The Stranger. Here's a concise event description. Okay, so yeah, I was able to kind of like customize some specific things. I mean, these all say pretty much the same thing as that the message from before. I mean, really, what we're just trying to convey is time, place, name of the event that Seattle Tabla insists. All right, and this one was interesting because it said additional venues. Yeah, because it was talking about where did it mention that? I think that was earlier. Yeah, additional venues. If you're looking to broaden your outreach further, you might also explore local community calendars or arts organizations' newsletters, which often have free event listings. However, The Stranger is likely the closest match to what you're after, a free publication with a detailed day by day entertainment calendar, which, yeah, that is what I'm looking for. But this is absolutely something I probably wouldn't have done if I were putting together a tour, 5, 10 years ago, is look for those additional outlets. Um, let's see what it came out with. Yeah, and some of these I was able to contact. Most of these I was not able to contact. But things like City of Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, if you're talking about where is someone who's likely to be interested in donating to a Hindustani school is going to read something, I would think it would be the City of Seattle Office of Arts and Culture. So that was a great one, I think, to send out a press kit to. So I did that. I'm not sure if I did. I might have sent one to visit Seattle. I know that Seattle Public Library, that was a good idea. However, their calendar seemed to be specifically focused on library events and different rooms and different libraries. So that wasn't a very good avenue, but that's definitely one worth looking into. I would think if maybe if you're like a small folk group or something like that, this might be, yeah, especially if you're like playing to like more of a general audience. Uh, Maybe getting in touch with the local library wouldn't be a bad idea. King County Arts Commission and Redmond Reporter. I don't remember if I was able to contact both of those. But I know I reached. I know I tried to. I at least looked them up. But the point is that use ChatGPT to find some additional avenues to send out your media kits to. That's a fantastic idea. Um, all right, so then we get to local arts organization, cultural centers. I think those are good. Not sure I looked too far into this. I did create an Eventbrite. However, Meetup requires a paid account to create events now, apparently. So I was not able to create a Meetup event. We'll come back to that. But anyways, each of these platforms offers a different way to reach your target audience, whether it's residents looking for local cultural activities or visitors planning their weekend. By submitting your event to several outlets, you could broaden your exposure without overwhelming your existing channels. I think that. All right, so now I'm actually just creating the events. Uh, this was all pretty standard, pretty similar to what we did last time. Just go into Facebook, create the events, go into link, create the events. I did use this sample text because I thought it was pretty straightforward and easy to understand, and it's not overwhelming. LinkedIn event, Eventbrite listing. I did all of those things, got those up and running. I made sure to share the events. Um, see general best practices. Yeah, we saw that already. I'm awaiting login. Okay, back to that. Okay, yeah, so here's just the basic events as they were printed out. We end up with Seattle Tabla Institute is proud to present our Kids Recital 2025, a family-friendly celebration where our young musicians showcase their passion for Hindustani music and the art of tabla drumming. As a dedicated 501c3 nonprofit committed to supporting music education and cultural exchange in Washington, we invite you to experience an evening that blends tradition with the vibrant energy of our future artists. And then we have the event details. We believe that not only entertain. Okay, so we got some kind of heartfelt message at the end of this. Um, Then we have the hashtags on there, which that's very important. That's something I've been making it a point to include on all of my posts and all of my videos and everything that I'm doing, just kind of boost that uh, online traction. Um, okay, so next I created the post, and then I asked for those hashtags because I wanted to drive engagement and increase visibility. So we got some good hashtags on there. And then finally, the last thing where I ended it was trying to make the meetup event, where I found out that you can't make meetup events without paying money now. Um, I asked if there was a way to get around it, and it's telling me to collaborate with an existing group, which I think that would just be shady of me to do to come in and say, "Hey, I have this event that I'm trying to promote that's not yours. Will you do me a favor and just send that out?" I don't think that I'm gonna pursue this, but I probably will pursue the event calendar that was created earlier. The whole 3 to 4 days spaced out. I might contact the instructor and ask him to make a quick little TikTok style video that just says, "Hey, reminder, come on out and see this show." But yeah, I'll probably stick to this event calendar. And yeah, if I were in a band and I were touring, this is exactly what I would be doing with all of the cities I would be hitting, all of this stuff. And I think that with ChatGPT, you could probably get this knocked out in a weekend, whereas previously it might have taken you like a week or two to accomplish all of that. So I hope this video was helpful to you all. Yeah, good luck out there, and hopefully this will drive some. All right.